A lot of the workflows that we handle at this point come after the bind. So say you've presented the customer this quote, the customer says, looks good, let's do it. They pay for it, they sign the paperwork, and the carrier then presents a policy document. Now Cara really steps in to help with the servicing of that customer. So if that customer has a question about their policy, Cara has access to the policy document and the policy information. So Cara can read the question in your inbox and draft a response for you.
Welcome to Insurance Shoptalk. This is the podcast where the world of commercial insurance gets a little closer to home. I'm your host, Eric Stein, and in every episode, we're taking a deep dive into the insurance industry. From the latest news and trends to in-depth interviews with insurtech experts, carriers, and agency newsmakers, we're covering it all. So sit back, tune in, and let's start the conversation. All right, everybody. Today, I'm excited to have Nikhil Kansal with me with Oyster. I've got a brand new product that involves a lot of AI that's combined in one system for agents to use for their agency management and really just integrating a lot of new technology into one cloud-based system. Nikhil, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said you are in India right now, and it looks beautiful. Is that a real background or fake?
No, unfortunately, it's not a real background. Yeah, I am in India right now, so it is past midnight my time, but definitely getting used to the time zone difference here.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we've used some offshore folks in Chennai, and it's been a 15-year experience and phenomenal experience, to be honest. And luckily, one of the gentlemen, Jagan, has been with us for literally 15 years. So I get to kind of learn about the culture a little bit and all the
Yeah,
monsoons and how they have to, how do they have to
yeah,
get to work? It's just a crazy environment, so depending on where you are, obviously.
yeah. It's a really diverse country. You'll find all sorts of cultures, all sorts of people, languages, food, all over the country.
Right, right. Bigger experience in America, I know. So, well, let's kind of get into it a little bit, Nikhil. Why don't you kind of go into the new product, Cara, that you launched at Oyster? Talk a little bit about your background as well and your role, and kind of set the stage.
Sure. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Nikhil. I'm one of the co-founders at Oyster. I work primarily on product engineering and development, so a lot of the AI features and the use cases that our customers come to us. I work with our team, our stellar team, to put them all together into workflows that work for individual agencies. So Cara is an AI CSR that's geared towards automating sales and servicing for insurance agencies. So you can use Cara in multiple different ways. Primarily, it's split into four different modules. So there's a co-pilot that you can work with Cara to accomplish service requests and other operational tasks, such as generating forms, certificates of insurance, checking for E&O exposure, contract review, and so forth. There's a servicing module, which helps agencies track open service requests, assign them to Cara to work together and complete them. There's a communications module, so our Copilot and Copilot and servicing modules can integrate with email and phone. So however you talk to your customers, Cara is there to assist. And finally, the knowledge base, which is really everything that Cara knows and uses to adapt to your agency's workflows.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, I've experienced using AI, just, separate components like Chat GPT, using
Yeah.
separately. So it sounds like you're trying to combine everything into one as much as you can.
What we're really trying to do is build something that works for insurance. So I've spoken to quite a few insurance agents. Everyone kind of ranges on the spectrum of I've never even heard of AI to I use ChatGPT every single day. And there's unique problems that each of these personas face. I think we kind of have an intuition for the potential impact of AI in insurance workflows, but tools like ChatGPT, they're great for getting quick knowledge and general checks and so forth. But I'm not sure how many people actually trust it to output very accurate information, especially in an industry like insurance, where accuracy and risk is really, really important. So what we're building is the ability to take something like ChatGPT and make it very, very tailored to insurance workflows and make sure that it's accurate and reliable as required by this industry.
Awesome. Yeah, I know the big push is always to integrate as many features into, let's say, a CRM or agency management system as possible. And with just the big boys with, Vertafore and Epic and, all the different ones, it's always a challenge because you've got a legacy system that you're used to working in and, have all your data in and your team's used to working in. So it's hard to, you know, just change that, if you will. So
Yeah,
would you also say it's an agency management system too, or is it more CRM oriented? For
I would say it's kind of adjacent to both. So some agencies find success in using Cara as a system of record. Usually those are smaller agencies that manage things normally through a spreadsheet or a to-do list. But for the vast majority of agencies that have an AMS, Cara is not an AMS or a CRM, but Cara works with your existing AMS and CRM to provide that intelligence layer on top. So if there are common workflows that you have to do, you can use Cara to do them, and Cara can read and write data to your AMS and CRM to accomplish those tasks. Like, as I mentioned, we have an email integration. So if a customer is emailing you to get a certificate of insurance, or, hey, does my policy meet these contractual requirements from my vendor, then Cara is in your inbox. Cara is connected to your AMS. Cara has the customer context, and Cara can draft a response for you to review and send back to the customer.
awesome. Does that go through Outlook too, or just the agency CRM? I mean, slash.
That can go, yeah, the email integration is agnostic to the client that you use. So it can work with Google Workspace, Microsoft Outlook, any kind of email system that you use.
Great. Okay. And would you say even closed sort of systems like Vertafore, AMS 360, things like that, you can still integrate with that?
So currently we have API integrations with two AMSs. That's Hawksoft and Epic. And we're working on getting Easy Links and AMS 360 in the next couple of months.
Got it.
Yeah. So
Um,
these integrations allow agencies to continue to work in a workspace that they're familiar with, the agency management systems, and not need to maintain two separate systems of record, upload and input information in two different workspaces. We use these integrations to make Cara work with your existing tech stack.
that's great. Yeah, like I said, people they hate the upheaval of changing the entire system,
Mm-hmm.
but they need these components you described, for AI, and just for automation and consolidation of vendors. Um, and then kind of walk through like I know you have like different components you mentioned and I saw on your website. Walk through a few that are the day in the life, let's say, of a CSR working on let's say a producer has a submission that they're working on, and they're working on their apps, and so it starts there, and then once he completes that, it's gonna be now given to his CSR to start marketing the account. Like walk through a couple of like real life stories of how that workflow you could assist with that workflow with Cara.
Sure. There's quite a few workflows that Cara can assist with. I think I'll talk about the top three that we've seen from our agencies. The biggest one by far is cross-form fill. So when you have a customer that is sending you information about their business, they're applying for insurance, maybe you've had a phone call, maybe there's some emails, maybe there's some documents that go back and forth, maybe there's an application of some sort. You need to submit all this information in a structured form to a carrier or a wholesale broker. Accord forms typically come to mind, or carrier specific, broker specific supplementals. What Cara can actually do is take the unstructured information that you have in phone calls, emails, documents, disparate applications, consolidate them all, and generate the Accord 125, 126, 130, 140, the carrier specific supplementals, so that you're all ready to go without having to parse that information yourself, fill out the forms yourself. You're kind of relying on Cara to do most of the grunt work, and then you'll do a quick review before shipping it off. So that's one of the most most requested use cases that Cara helps agencies with. Um, I've got a couple more, but I'm happy to take a pause here
Yeah,
and see if
yeah.
there's anything you
So
want to
digging into
discuss.
that. So let's say I got the Accord. I started with some supplemental. Is that really the basis of how Cara knows what data to take and then try to transpose as much as possible onto another, let's say, carrier supplemental?
Exactly. So Cara can read anything, any kind of unstructured input, and Cara can output documents based on the input. So you can go from a Accord form to a supplemental, or an application to an Accord form, or an Accord form to another Accord form. So Cara is really good at reading unstructured information, making it structured, and then putting it into the output that you need. In this case, it's a document.
Did it even go out to without being asked, even to go out to the client's website and LinkedIn or whatever public information and grab it, kind of like a chat GPT and assist in even putting that information in?
Yeah, so there's something that we're actually working on. I'm glad you touched on it. What we call it the underwriting module, where as a part of this platform, as we expand Cara's capabilities, you can ask Cara to perform independent research and incorporate that information into the Accord forms. So, for example, based on the website and the Google search, Cara could suggest a couple of GL, SIC, or NAICS codes for you to use on the application. Of course, these are kind of information. It's really up to the agent's judgment. So we don't really, we're not designing Cara to make decisions unilaterally. Rather, Cara is more of a collaborative teammate where you have, as the agent, the final say on what goes into these forms and what goes out of your agency.
Got it. All right. So then do as much as you can with the client and the information you know to get. Cara hopefully can help fill that in and then also complete multiple forms, multiple submissions. Um, and then I guess you could structure to even send the emails out once you approve it.
Yeah, so Cara does have an email drafting feature as well. So what again, as part of this workflow, you can kind of construct it however you want. If you want Cara to do independent research, you just need to ask her. If you want her to generate specific forms, you ask her. If you want her to draft an email to, let's say, a couple of carriers, a broker, maybe even the customer, then as a part of that same thread, that same workflow, Cara will have that email ready for you to go, and you can press send, and it'll Cara will send that email out.
Got it. And then I guess go into the more now, let's say it's been sent to multiple markets, the proposals and quotes start coming back in. And now, you have to kind of compare and also look at
Yep.
policy data up to make sure it meets the needs of the client for coverage, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually the next use case that I wanted to talk about. Cara also has a coverage, quote, and contract comparison feature where you can upload kind of any combination of existing policies, or maybe you want to compare a customer's policy that's going to expire to a renewal policy, or two or three quotes that you've gotten from multiple carriers, or two quotes versus a contract that a customer has sent you and has asked which of these quotes is better for the insurance requirements that my vendor is asking for. Cara can take any combination of those documents and give you a summary of the differences and a recommendation on what you should suggest to the client in terms of coverage. Once again, you can incorporate other features of Cara in here. So if you want Cara to then draft the email and send it to the customer, you just have to ask. But as those quotes start coming in from carriers, Cara is more than capable of comparing and contrasting them and outputting a summary and a recommendation.
Awesome. So then I've been seeing that the big concern is that even if you use Chat GPT and they say they don't, do this, the data now is kind of going out there for all the AI to continue learning on in the in the world, if you will. How do you address the security of that client data and proprietary, information, if you will, so that all the other agents who may be using Cara and or other AI modules, don't get access to that same information?
Yeah, it's a really complex question. So there's a couple of different areas to break down. Number one, when we handle customer data. So if you've uploaded a quote, contract, or policy, then each customer's data is segmented. So no other agency has access to any other agency's data, either explicitly or implicitly. Cara can only reference data for your agency and no other agency, which means that your data is not referenceable by other agencies. And the second part of your question touched on how do we keep the data from being used in training. So we use foundational models, which means that we have not done the 700 billion parameter training of a model because that's really expensive. But the way we use that model, we use it in a virtual private cloud. So we have our own private deployment of that module, which means of that model, sorry, which means any usage of that model doesn't feed data back to the parent company, which means that data, the customer data that we have, is not able to be used for further training by the foundational model providers.
So only training for that agency and that and their proprietary, walled off area of Cara.
Exactly. And that area of training is something that we are responsible for and not the foundational model provider. So Cara can, kind of as you use Cara more, you've uploaded more documents, you've given Cara more feedback, that's stored in a agency specific database that Cara can then pull from to learn about your workflows and the way that you do business. For example, maybe you prefer to write emails a certain way, or maybe you prefer to see certain information in a quote comparison. As you give Cara that feedback, that gets stored in your agency's specific database, and Cara then references that information thereafter.
That's right. Oh, yeah, recreate the wheel every time you want to do a request. And like, what is it? Is it proprietary or is it open AI? I mean, what is the backbone?
Yeah, so we use a combination of models. So one of the models that we use more often than the others is Anthropic's Claude Sonnet. It's a pretty good module for comprehension and writing, which are the two key areas that insurance agencies really need to excel in, right? Reading things correctly, paying attention to detail, and making sure anything that you write is correct, clear, and concise.
All right, sweet. So then moving forward, so now you got the quote comparison, you use that data that the Cara provides, make the decision of which quote you want to present. Now, do you want to talk about any other like workflow in that piece now? What's the next steps?
Sure. So a lot of the workflows that we handle at this point come after the bind. So say you've presented the customer this quote, the customer says, looks good, let's do it. They pay for it, they sign the paperwork, and the carrier then presents a policy document. Now Cara really steps in to help with the servicing of that customer. So if that customer has a question about their policy, Cara has access to the policy document and the policy information. So Cara can read the question in your inbox and draft a response for you, referencing specific sections of the policy or whatever other documents are associated with the account. And you can give it a thumbs up and send it off, or make some edits and then send it yourself. If a customer needs a certificate of insurance, it's the same deal. So if they need specific endorsements to be listed, or if they need an additional insured, Cara can check the policy language, check all the endorsements, and make sure that what the customer is asking is provided for by the policy. And if not, let the agent know that, hey, in order to issue the COI, might need to make these changes to the policy.
And when you say it's like it's sitting in your inbox, like does it literally just email me as the agent or CSR first, so to speak, and then I get to review and forward?
So you as the agent would receive, or the CSR would receive the request from the customer, and then all you would have to do is forward that to Cara. So you
Okay.
can think of Cara as like an AI CSR. Cara will look at the customer's account, the request, all the information, and figure out what she needs to do, and reply back to you, the agent, with whatever information or whatever partial completion of that request, whether that's, hey, I generated the COI successfully because there were no issues, please review and send it off, or I couldn't generate the COI because this endorsement was missing, or I couldn't confirm that this language is valid in the description of operations.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody, it's Eric. I just want to pop in for a quick announcement. Exciting news. I just launched my new book on Amazon. It's called The Blueprint, an insurance agency's unconventional rise to the top. And it goes through a little bit about how I built the agency Insurance Solutions since 2009 to today. And the blueprint in terms of how I actually did it with the tech stack, the offshore, nearshore talent, and digital marketing techniques that I use. So pick up a copy today on Amazon. Thanks, guys. And then, so keep going. What else, like on this account, so it can help with the service side. You could it actually, I'm assuming, can it go ahead and issue the COI and send it to you to review?
Exactly. So it can create that Accord 25 form if based on the information that's got from the customer and the information from the policy. If it's got all the information, then it can generate the form for you to review and send out. If certain information is missing, for example, maybe the customer or the client forgot to mention who the certificate holder is or their address, then Cara can say, hey, I've got most of the information, but I'm missing this, this, and this piece. Could you please clarify with the customer and let me know, and I can finish the COI. So Cara can identify missing information as well before generating the COI.
So then I wouldn't need even my certificate system anymore. I could just use Cara in general, or do I still, is it using my certificate system?
You could just use Cara. If your AMS, if we have an integration with your agency management system and your AMS allows document upload, then we can push that information back into your AMS if that's where you would like the certificates to live. But we also keep track of customer interactions and all the documents associated with an account. So we have a record of all the COIs that have been issued for a customer through Cara.
Okay, so then yeah, so that's usually the reason you keep the system would be for prior information. So is it structured so that at renewal I could just resend, hit with a button, say send all certificate holders from last year, send the new cert to them with this policy info, and it would know to do that kind of
Yep.
like the search system?
Yeah, you would basically, as part of your renewal workflow, that would be something that you can let or at least configure Cara to do automatically. Like look at the certificate, look at the renewal policy, make sure that there aren't any important differences, like was an endorsement dropped? If so, that certificate is going to have to either change or we're going to have to make a change to the policy. So Cara can do that kind of review and reissue certificates.
So how technical do I have to be, or to do this renewal configuration within Cara? Is that something you guys do? Do I get trained? My team gets trained to do it? How does that work?
That's something that we're actively working on. It's still a very early feature that we're co-developing with our agencies, but I essentially it's like designing a workflow. So if you've used workflows in HubSpot or Salesforce, they're kind of this like drag and drop interface where you can say, this is what I want to happen in this sequence for renewals. I want the customer to be notified that they have a renewal coming up. I want this form to be generated from last year's application. Once the policy is available from the carrier, I want this check and the COI generation to run. So you can kind of drag and drop to configure exactly what you want to happen here. The AI kind of runs in the background. It's not really forefront feature of the product. We're really focused more on core workflows that agencies have and making them as efficient as possible.
Makes sense. Can it also just like once you mentioned, once an account's ready to bind, can it go ahead and upload all the documents, save it in the AMS in the right fields, and is it trained to do that yet? Like an agent, like
If
an
the
AI
AMS
agent?
if the AMS API allows us to do it, then we certainly can do it. So for example, Epic allows us to create and update policy records and account records via the API. So if you're an Epic user and you have API access, you would just grant Cara that access, and then Cara can update records and add activities and logs. For example, if a customer calls in or emails in, that can also be put into your AMS. But that really depends on the capabilities of the AMS. Some
Again,
AMSs don't allow that.
you'd have to configure that, say all Accords store here. At the notes about the client, or client call, can it, if allowed, then can it document, what was discussed on the call, and can it actually listen to your call from the phone system and those sort of things, and translate it?
So So as part
Transform.
of the communication module that I mentioned, Cara can actually take phone calls. So you can decide if you want to forward all calls to Cara as the first line of defense, or set up Cara as an alternative to voicemail, or just take calls after business hours. In either way, Cara provides this very realistic voice AI that allows her to understand what the customer is requesting and kind of triage and handle that. So, for example, if they're looking for a new application or a new quote, Cara can prioritize that call and send it to an agent if an agent's available. And if not, then she can ask the questions that an agent would ask to get all that information transcribed in a structured form for the agent to then see when they're available. Same thing for endorsements, first notice of losses, requesting certificates of insurance. For things that require an agent, the agent's tried first, but otherwise, Cara is perfectly capable of handling the initial collection and triage of information.
Wrong. You think it is it sound I've seen some recently, used by businesses that are really good, low latency, very conversational, like your chat GPT talking mode or Claude or whatever, and Gemini.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the conversationality and the realistic, response and correct response, latency, how's that going?
Yeah, I think the best judge of that are real customers. And I think, what we've noticed is if you tell somebody who's evaluating the software that something is AI, they pay very, very close attention. But as I mentioned, we've been running the system at our insurance agency for some time now. And I think for the last few months, that's how long it's been deployed. Kara's taking all of our phone calls. Um, Over 70% of customers can't even tell if they're talking to an AI. And the ones that can, most of them are very impressed. Of course, there are some customers who feel very strongly about talking to an AI. And for those customers, they always have the option of saying, hey, connect me with the person. And Cara will automatically say, of course, let me get you to an agent, and an agent will pick up the phone. But the vast majority of customers either can't tell or are very impressed that they're talking to an AI.
Well, that's great. Yeah, and I guess again, it's kind of nice that they're versus outbound, which can be challenging. Um, Inbound, at least, there's certain, a set of areas to focus on that you could get really good at, about how, the COI questions as an example, you know,
Yep.
versus outbound. I tested a few things, for outbound, and it's been very challenging because it's just too diverse and
Mm-hmm.
sounds too automated. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think the natural sound and the flow of the conversation is a lot better with some of the more cutting edge AI models, especially the way that these text models and these speech models work together. The latency is low. The voice sounds realistic, so there will be like uhs and ums, mm-hms, like those kind of interjections. And Kara is also very patient. Some customers need more help than other customers, or more time to work through a request. Uh, Kara has all the time in the world, so you can let Kara handle more in-depth customer requests as well.
And you could have 20 calls or how many lines you have. You could have 10 calls or have be 10 caras going on at the same time even, right?
Exactly. So let's say you're busy with the customer right now. You've still got Kara as the first line of defense, taking that phone call. She'll transfer you as a customer if she can, but otherwise she'll collect all the information, note it down for the agent as a service request in the servicing module, and let the customer know that the agent will call them back. And that lets the agent kind of free up their time and focus on kind of the most important, most pressing customers at any given time, and then schedule in the rest of the customer service and support as their schedule allows.
And can Kara schedule an appointment on Calendly or what have you as well?
Yeah, so Cara has a basic calendar integration. We're working to expand this to more robust formats. Like, for example, if you have your Outlook, if you use Outlook for your agency, this isn't available just yet. But Cara could look at your availability and look at the urgency of the customer's request and find a slot on your calendar that you can then move around to call the customer back.
That's really cool. Yeah. Um, and what else? What else? What other features do you think you'd like to highlight on the workflow?
We really like to work with our agencies. Every agency's workflows are, either completely different or slightly different. And every customer that we work with, we learn a little bit more about a new dimension of what causes them pain. So the way we like to work with agencies is we will set up an introduction call, mostly to just discover and understand where are the inefficiencies, what are the pain points. If you had a magic wand and you could, make something go away, what would it be? And then we'll tailor the solution to your agency. So, with the capability of AI and the foundational intelligence that we've built into Cara, really any kind of insurance workflow is possible that involves working together with Cara. So you can really think of it as an AI CSR that's constantly learning and building out your agency specific workflows. So contract review, quote and policy comparison, COIs. I've kind of touched on that. Another thing that Cara can do is review documents and outputs for E&O exposure. So, for example, if you have generated a certificate of insurance, sometimes mistakes can be made, and that can expose your agency to E&O risk. What Cara can do is be a second set of eyes on that COI, and instead of being the one to generate the COI, Cara can look at the COI, compare it to the policy, and say, okay, are all these fields actually correct? Are there any caveats? Is something checked on the COI that shouldn't be checked? Does something not apply to the specific certificate holder? And give you a couple of bullet points and say, like, hey, this, and this looks right, although you might want to double check this and this. So that's another use case that we've co-developed with one of our customers, basically reducing the likelihood of E&O exposure through outputs that aren't correct from an insurance perspective.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, I can see how that could be helpful. And then as far as the pricing, how does that work? Is it like a SaaS fee, monthly fee, or users licensing? How do you set it up?
Yeah, it's fairly simple. It's a per user per month fee. So if you've got our standard pricing is at the moment for our initial set of customers, it's $100 a month per user. So if you've got one user, it's $100 a month. 10 is $1,000 a month. And of course, if you commit to using Cara annually, then there's some special benefits for that as well.
Okay, makes sense. Um, yeah, that's helpful versus, trying to develop this yourself or have enterprise open AI, enterprise chat GPT, trying to integrate that into what you're
Yeah.
doing. It's a full-time job.
Yeah. And Cara is really what we've heard about OpenAI from other insurance agencies is that it struggles to read policy documents in a way that it makes sense for insurance. So some policy documents, they're out of order. Sections might contradict each other, and you need to understand how this carrier works and how these documents work to know exactly, what's in effect, what's covered, what's not covered, what the terms are. That's something that ChatGPT can sometimes struggle with because it is probably reading these documents linearly and not considering the insurance specific meaning of the text. Um, Not to mention that there's limitations with a tool like ChatGPT. You're unlikely to be able to upload a 300-page policy document and have ChatGPT read all of it. Whereas Cara is really optimized for these workflows. Cara does really well with long, long, long documents and contradictory clauses and endorsements that modify other endorsements and things being out of order. So we've really kind of built that foundational intelligence into Cara to make all the workflows better.
Yeah, it really is good to have it in, insurance industry specific. Just like you're saying, like I've tried to type some things in on a workers' comp class just real quick, and it can sometimes just, not understand what direction I'm going in because it's not insurance, trained like you're doing,
Mhm.
and then you set it up.
Exactly.
PNC agents, have you run into Byberg, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company quoting workers' comp for either your prospects or clients? Well, great news. Insured Solutions, a national MGA, has an appointment that is set up to allow you to quote, bind, and service by Burke at your agency. And the coverage is in all states. It's A-rated. Startups are even accepted. There's 125,000 maximum premium. And some of the tough industries they write are construction, transportation, that includes towing and parcel delivery, manufacturing, security guards that are armed and unarmed, motor mediation, and many more. So go to our website at insurancesolutions.net, click the Get Appointed link. We'll get you logins for you and your team, and can set up a webinar for training if you'd like. Also, feel free to email info@insurancesolutions.net, and I can handle the submission myself, or call 770-402-5343. Be glad to speak to you and give you more detail. Thanks. Well, awesome. Well, I mean, this sounds pretty exciting. I'm glad you guys are on the forefront of getting this developed and working with some of these beta agencies to get it going and work out a lot of the kinks. And sound like you're, pretty far along on it. If there's somebody wanted to get in touch, with you guys to get some more info or get a demo, what's the best way that they could reach out, to you or your team?
Yeah, the best way would probably be to go to our website, getcara.ai. There's a button there that you can click to book a demo. It's going to connect you directly with one of either me or my co-founder, Vic. We talk to all of our customers personally and directly just to make sure that what we're building and what we're offering them, it's going to deliver value immediately.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you guys are intimately involved at this point, to keep it on track. Some exciting stuff going on in this world, man, this AI world. So you guys are making it happen like real time in insurance, and making it simple, which, again, I've done some research recently, like that outbound test I did, it's challenging, to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential with AI and insurance. I think the key challenge is getting it to work at the level that's required in insurance. I mean, there's definitely types of AI that you can build, where if it works 70%, 80%, that's like good enough. But that's not really the case in insurance. Like it needs to really nail the use case. It really needs to understand insurance to be useful. You can't afford to have something that's only 90% accurate in insurance. So we're really focused on making sure that for any agency that we work with, the accuracy is really high. The confidence that you have as an agent in the software is really high.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and then as an agency owner, you get very impatient too. You want everything it's hard enough to get the team to start utilizing the tools. And if they don't work, we lose confidence, and then the process just don't get followed. And so that you guys are trying to make it, as perfect as possible, which can be done because of AI, can get to that 95% level versus some other software, is a kind of a feat into itself.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, but I think these are the problems that need to be solved, right? We don't need another chatbot. We need to actually drive efficiency and value for people, and especially like agents and CSRs and insurance. I'm sure over the last 30, 40 years, a lot of tech waves have like come and gone, and some of them insurance has gone on relatively after other sectors have, but others have been kind of missed. And I think AI is another one of those waves that's different this time because of the way it deals with unstructured data. It makes it a perfect fit for insurance.
Agreed. Well, yeah, I'm excited about this, man. I'm excited about where it's going to go and, your progress. So I want to have you on again, probably in, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I bet it'll be all different, and even more robust.
Yeah, we're definitely moving very quickly. So it's a really exciting time to be working in AI, especially in insurance.
Awesome. Well, Nikhil, I really appreciate you being on and your time, and looking forward to hearing about the success and, of course, working together with you and Vic.
Of course. Thank you, Eric, for having me. It was a pleasure to talk about Cara.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for tuning in to Insurance Shop Talk. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest trends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Eric Stein, and this has been Insurance Shop Talk.